I never thought a single sentence could shatter me the way hers did. She looked me dead in the eyes, her voice steady, but her hands trembling just enough for me to notice. "You can't give me a future." Those 5 words replayed in my head long after she walked away. At first, I thought maybe I misheard. Maybe she was just scared of commitment. Maybe it was temporary. But no, she meant it. She believed I wasn't enough for her. Not now, not ever. My name's Daniel, and if you've ever had someone you love decide for you that you're not good enough, then you already know the storm that followed me after that night. I wasn't broke, but I wasn't rich. I wasn't lost, but I wasn't where I wanted to be. I was in that stage of life where you're still building, still chasing dreams that aren't fully real yet. And to her, that meant I couldn't give her stability, a house, a picture-perfect life tied up with a neat little bow. She wanted a future that looked safe, predictable. I wanted a future that was ours, even if it meant starting from scratch. But apparently, that wasn't enough. The breakup wasn't explosive. No shouting, no slammed doors. Just a quiet goodbye that burned deeper than any fight could have. She walked away with her certainty, and I was left with my silence. But here's the part one didn't expect. When you lose someone you thought was your forever, you don't just lose them. You lose the plans you made, the versions of yourself you imagined, the memories you thought you'd create. It felt like my whole future had been erased in one conversation. And while I was trying to piece myself back together, life threw me into a situation I couldn't have scripted if I tried. Because that's when she walked in. Not her, the one who left me. Her sister. Now, before you judge, hear me out. This wasn't some rebound, some petty revenge story, or me looking for a way to fill the emptiness. No, it was different. Unexpected. Complicated in ways I couldn't even begin to imagine. At first, it was nothing more than chance encounters, casual conversations, the kind of small talk that doesn't seem important, until it suddenly is. She wasn't supposed to notice me, and I wasn't supposed to notice her. But the more we talked, the more I realized something shocking. Where her sister saw failure, she saw potential. Where her sister saw instability, she saw ambition. And where her sister saw no future, she gave me something I didn't even know I needed. But here's the twist. It didn't happen in some smooth, fairy tale way. Far from it. Because falling for her meant stepping into a storm bigger than the one I'd just crawled out of. And it all started with one unexpected moment that changed everything. Before I tell you how everything unraveled, you need to understand how it all began. I met Emily. Yeah, the one who left me, when we were both in college. She was sharp, ambitious, the kind of girl who had her whole life mapped out before most of us even figured out what classes we wanted to take. She knew the job she wanted, the city she wanted to live in, even the timeline for marriage and kids. Me? I was still chasing a dream that wasn't exactly steady. I wanted to build my own business. Not some quick hustle, but something meaningful. Something that could last. But in the beginning, dreams don't pay bills. They take time, sacrifice, and patience. And Emily, well, patience wasn't her strongest trait. For a while, we worked. She loved my passion, the way I lit up when I talked about building something from nothing. She believed in me, or at least, she used to. But as months turned into years, the cracks started showing. She wanted security. I wanted growth. She wanted certainty. I wanted to take risks. It wasn't that we didn't love each other. We did. But love, as I learned the hard way, sometimes isn't enough when the future looks blurry to the person standing beside you. Her family knew about me too. We weren't some secret. I was at dinners, birthdays, holidays. Her parents liked me well enough, but you could feel the unspoken questions in the air. When will you settle down? When will you get serious? When will you give her the life she deserves? And then there was her younger sister, Claire. Claire was different. Where Emily was polished, Claire was more free-spirited. She didn't always follow the rules, didn't seem to care if people thought she was reckless or too honest. She had this energy that made people want to be around her, like she saw the world in colors most of us didn't notice. Back then, Claire was just Emily's little sister. She'd tag along sometimes, make sarcastic comments at family dinners, tease Emily in a way only siblings could. I never thought much about it. Why would I? I was in love with Emily. I only ever saw Claire as part of the background of our relationship. But that night, the night Emily ended things, everything shifted. After she told me I couldn't give her a future, I tried to move on quietly. I avoided her calls, her friends, her family. I thought if I stayed away, the pain would fade. But life doesn't always give you clean breaks. Somehow, I kept running into Claire. Grocery stores, coffee shops, even at a mutual friend's party. At first, it was awkward, her reminding me of Emily, me trying not to think about it. But the more we talked, the stranger it felt. Because unlike Emily, she didn't look at me with pity. She didn't treat me like a man who had failed. She treated me like someone worth listening to. And that's where things started to get complicated. Because every time I told myself to keep my distance, something kept pulling me closer. I kept telling myself it was nothing. Just conversations. Just coincidences. But deep down, I knew it wasn't that simple. The first time Claire and I really talked, was at that party. Music was loud, people were laughing, and somehow we ended up outside, away from the noise. She asked me straight out, "So, how are you holding up?" Not the casual, surface-level kind of question people throw around, but the type that made me feel like she actually wanted the truth. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to brush it off, act like I was fine, but something about her eyes made lying feel impossible. So I told her about the breakup, about how it felt to be told I wasn't enough, about the future Emily wanted that I couldn't promise. And Claire didn't judge me. She just listened. And that was the problem. The more I opened up, the more dangerous it felt. Because every time she laughed at one of my jokes, every time she pushed me to keep going with my business, every time she reminded me that I wasn't a failure, I felt something I wasn't supposed to feel. Something that terrified me. Guilt. No matter what Emily said, a part of me still cared for her. She was my first real love. And now here I was, catching myself staring at her sister, wondering why it was so easy to breathe when she was around. It felt wrong, but it also felt inevitable. And Claire, she didn't make it any easier. She had this way of being bold, of saying the things Emily never dared to. One night, when we bumped into each other at a late-night cafe, she leaned in and said quietly, "You know, she was wrong about you. You can give someone a future, just maybe not her." Her words hit me like a lightning strike. My heart raced, my thoughts spun, and for the first time, I realized this wasn't just in my head. She felt it too. But before I could even respond, before I could figure out what to do with the fire her words lit inside me, someone else walked into that cafe. And that's when everything got messy. The second I saw her walk through the cafe door, my stomach dropped. Emily. She froze the moment her eyes landed on us. Me sitting there across from her sister, Claire leaning in close, that half smile still on her lips from the words she'd just said. For a split second, the whole place went quiet in my head, even though the sound of clinking cups and chatter carried on around us. Emily's expression wasn't anger. It was worse. It was recognition. Like she instantly knew what was happening, even if I hadn't fully admitted it to myself yet. I stood up too quickly, nearly knocking over my chair. "Emily, hey, I didn't know you came here." My voice cracked, and I hated myself for it. Claire didn't move, didn't even look guilty. She just sat there, calm, her eyes flicking between the two of us as if she was waiting for the explosion. But Emily didn't yell. She didn't cause a scene. She just gave a tight smile and said, "I see you found someone who believes in your dreams." The words cut like glass because they weren't really meant for me. They were aimed at Claire. Then she turned and walked out without waiting for a response. I should have gone after her. Maybe that's what a decent guy would have done. But my legs wouldn't move. Because when I glanced back at Claire, she whispered, "She made her choice. Don't let her control yours." And that was the moment everything split in two. For days, I couldn't escape the weight of it. Every time my phone buzzed, I half expected it to be Emily, demanding an explanation. But she stayed silent. No calls, no messages. Just distance. And in that silence, Claire filled the space. More late-night talks. More encouragement. More chances for me to feel something I wasn't sure I was allowed to feel. But with every passing moment, the guilt grew heavier. Was I betraying Emily? Was I betraying myself? Or was this just the twisted way fate was trying to reroute my life? The tension only got worse the night Emily finally showed up at my apartment. I hadn't seen her since that cafe, and when I opened the door, the look on her face was unreadable. She didn't waste time. "Daniel, are you with her?" The directness of it made my chest tighten. My mouth opened, but no words came out. I wasn't sure what the truth even was anymore. And then, before I could answer, another knock echoed through the apartment. Louder. Urgent. I turned, confused. Emily frowned, glancing toward the door. I stepped forward and pulled it open. And there she was, Claire, standing in the hallway. Her eyes locked on me like she already knew the storm she was walking into. Emily behind me, Claire in front of me, my heart racing like a drum. And I knew, whatever happened next would change everything. The air in that hallway was suffocating. Emily behind me, her arms crossed, her voice sharp. So, tell me the truth. Claire in front of me, her eyes steady, as if she was ready for whatever answer I gave. But before I could speak, Claire said something that made the room spin. Emily, I didn't come here for him. I came here for you. Emily blinked. What are you talking about? Claire's voice shook, but she didn't back down. You didn't leave him because he couldn't give you a future. You left because you knew the truth. You were already planning a future with someone else. Emily's face drained of color. For the first time, she looked guilty, cornered. My chest tightened as her silence stretched into confession. Claire's voice rose, trembling with fury. You made him believe he wasn't enough, when all along it was you who chose someone else. And you let him drown in guilt for it. I turned to Emily, my heart pounding. Her eyes glistened, her lips parting as if she wanted to explain, but then came her whisper, so soft I almost missed it. I never thought you'd find out like this. The moment the words left Emily's mouth, the world tilted. I wasn't angry at first, just numb. All those nights I'd blamed myself, all the times I believed her when she said I wasn't enough, and now, the truth was staring me in the face. Claire stepped past me, her voice cracking as she said, You could have just been honest, Emily. You didn't have to destroy him to cover up your own choices. Emily's eyes flashed. You don't understand. I had to leave him. I couldn't tell him I was all ready. She stopped herself, biting her lip, but the damage was done. My stomach twisted. Already what? With someone else? Planning a life behind my back. I finally found my voice. So, all this time, it wasn't me. It was you. Her silence was louder than any answer. For a long moment, none of us moved. Then, suddenly, Emily whispered, Fine. Yes, I chose someone else. But you wouldn't have survived knowing the truth. The words sliced me open, but strangely, it also set me free. For the first time, I realized I wasn't the one who failed. And then Claire said the thing that changed everything again. You're right, Emily. He wouldn't have survived if he didn't have me. The room went silent. My heart thudded in my chest. Emily's face crumbled, and she whispered, You love him? Claire didn't flinch. I always did, even when I wasn't supposed to. I staggered back, the weight of her confession slamming into me. Love? This wasn't just comfort, or pity, or a rebound. It was something deeper. Emily's voice shook. Then I guess I really did lose him. Not to failure, but to you. For a moment, it felt like the final page of a story I never thought I'd be part of. But then, Claire's phone buzzed. She glanced down, and her face went pale. I leaned closer. What is it? Her voice trembled as she whispered, It's him. The man Emily left you for. He's my ex. When Claire said those words, he's my ex, everything froze again. The puzzle pieces that had been scattered across the floor of my life suddenly clicked into place, but not in a neat, comforting way. It was jagged, messy, painful. Emily had left me for someone who once belonged to Claire. And now Claire stood beside me, confessing feelings she'd carried longer than I realized. For a while, none of us spoke. Emily's eyes darted between us, guilt etched deep in her face. Claire's hands shook, but she stood her ground. And me? I felt like the ground itself had disappeared, leaving me dangling between the past and a future I wasn't sure I could trust. Finally, I broke the silence. So, all this time, none of us were honest. Not me, not you, Emily, not even you, Claire. We all hid something. My voice cracked, but it wasn't anger this time. It was exhaustion. Emily swallowed hard. I made a mistake. I thought I was choosing stability, but all I did was run. And I hurt both of you in the process. She looked at me then, her eyes wet. I never meant to make you feel like you weren't enough. You were. I didn't know how to admit my own weakness. For the first time, I believed her. Not because her words fixed the pain, but because they didn't sound like excuses, they sounded like truth. Claire stepped closer, her voice softer now. Daniel, I know this is a lot. I shouldn't have told you everything like that, but I couldn't keep pretending. I care about you more than I ever planned to. But if this is too much, if it's too messy, I'll walk away. I looked at her, then at Emily. Two sisters, both tangled in my story in ways none of us could have predicted. And in that moment, I realized I didn't have to make a perfect choice. Life isn't clean. It's raw, complicated, and sometimes broken in ways we can't repair. So I took a breath and said, I don't know what the future looks like, but I know this. I'm done letting other people decide my worth. Emily, I loved you, and maybe a part of me always will. But I can't carry the weight of your choices anymore. Her tears fell, and she nodded. It wasn't forgiveness, not fully, but it was release. Then I turned to Claire. And as for us, I don't know where this goes. But maybe, for once, that's okay. Because the future doesn't have to be perfect to be real. Claire's eyes filled with relief, and she smiled through the tension. Emily quietly left, and the door closed softly behind her, leaving only the two of us in the quiet aftermath. That night, I realized something simple yet powerful. Sometimes the future we're meant to have isn't the one we plan or the one someone else imagines for us. It's the one we choose, even in the middle of the mess. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I finally had a choice.